Okay, hello, welcome to our webinar in our IAM webinar series. Today we will be together with Kevin, who is CEO and co-founder of Viblo, and we will learn about his entrepreneurial journey in the meantime. I would like to share with you a tiny presentation about Kevin and his background. First, let me share my screen. So we have many students actually dreaming to open their own businesses and startups. And of course, there are several questions that comes to their minds, if they are ready to take the step, if they should gain some industry experience before launching their own business, then if the idea is right, if not, how do they find the right idea, and what do they need to do, and who can help them, right? Many questions. And these are just some of them. And of course, there are many others. And today we have Kevin Giorgis, who will share his experience in building a startup and two associations in the field of education technology. Kevin was very kind accepting our invitation, and I would like to introduce him. He's an Italian entrepreneur, quite young, born in 1997. He studied management and marketing in Bologna and also at the University of California Riverside. And actually, it seems during his stay in California, his interest in building a startup and taking this kind of journey started. But later he will talk about us. Then he came back to Europe and he pursued his master's in strategy and international management in Switzerland, which is a quite good place to be if you want to become an entrepreneur, actually, because they have a great technology startup and entrepreneur ecosystem. Kevin maybe can talk about this as well. And he completed 2 internships in corporates and decided that entrepreneurship was his thing, right? Then he decided to take the journey. The first thing he founded was Edu Enhancement. Then afterwards, it was accelerated, if I'm not wrong, in Israel. And then they pivoted to Viblo. And today we will listen to the details of this journey. Kevin, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I see that we are a few people here in the call. If I may, let me know, can I ask a few questions in the group here?
Go ahead. Hard ones for them.
Okay. So maybe I'll start asking a few questions, and then I would like you to ask a few questions. Like, how many here is already building a startup? You can also just raise the hands with the reactions or write in the chat.
I think none of us so far.
Okay, but how many are thinking then to build a startup maybe in the future? Ever?
I would, but I just don't know in what.
That's part of the conversation today. I see 2 people and maybe a few more that might be shy. And has anyone worked in a startup so far? And maybe that is an example of first step to understand. Sarah, I see, and maybe Roman raise the hands as well. Well, I'm 25, so I don't know how old are you all, maybe less, maybe more. Everyone can become an entrepreneur. I think it's a matter of mindsets. And today I will just share my experience from being a student, like from University of Gallen and the other ones, to becoming an entrepreneur, which can go hand in hand, actually. So Ebru or Ebru is the actual name?
Ebru.
Ebru, okay. Shared already an introduction. So I'm originally from Italy, so I'm Italian. After high school, I moved to start my university studies. And that's when I started being involved in the management experience. So I studied management and marketing for 2 years in Bologna. And then I wanted to experience something different type of education, which is the American kind of education, which is very different, is campus-based, is community-oriented. And so you go there and you live in a campus, basically, that you have everything over there. And that's my first approach to the startup space. I was hearing the word startup the first time when I did my 3rd year of university, not before. And then I got the opportunity to volunteer so not getting paid, but volunteering in an idea phase startup. Idea phase or startup that raise funds are very different. And so I had experience to do both. Idea phase startup is a mess because you have an idea and somehow you need to bring it to the market. It didn't work. It wasn't my startup. I was supporting this entrepreneur, but it never went to the markets. Part of the reason was the team, I would say, because everyone says, but I hope the one message is why the team is so important in startups. If you don't build the right environments within the startup, the team is what brings an idea to realization. Like Steve Jobs and many other renewed entrepreneurs says ideas are worth nothing without execution. And what does it mean? Do we need to have an amazing idea? Maybe yes, maybe not. But if you don't know how to bring it down to reality, it's worth absolutely nothing. It's better having a mediocre idea, but being able to execute on that. And so that was a problem with the first startup that I was helping with in California, was doing an internship, then head of the interns. After that, I wanted to explore what it was actually a startup, and I joined a startup in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is an amazing place, but it's super expensive. So I was working from distance while I was studying, because living there is crazy unless you commute 1 hour, 1 hour and a half every single day. Why? Because all the tech firms that pay so much money are there. And so the whole market actually increased the prices. That was happening in Dublin. That's what's happening in Singapore, everywhere. It's where big tech company goes, the price starts increasing. And that's where I realized what a startup was. I guess you might be familiar with the term seed stage or Series A startup, maybe. That's the type of funding that you start raising. Seed is when you have already some sort of traction, you have a product, and you need some more money to fully validate your product market fit. But then Series A is not about experimenting too much anymore. It's about bringing that to further markets. And I was helping a startup in that space. They were raising their Series A, and they're an Italian-American company measuring employee motivation. Why I joined? Because I was writing a thesis there. So I guess most of you will have to write a thesis, and an opportunity is to join a startup and write your thesis with them rather than with a corporate. I loved it because I could see 360-degree the whole startup experience, from products to fundraising to business. Yes, I was in marketing. I wasn't in management. I was an intern, but still you hear and see everything because the team is small. So you talk with the CMO, with the CTO, with the CEO, with the CEO, with everyone, and you see what's happening. Now, when I came back from the US, I started my master in St. Gallen in Switzerland. Why? Because I wanted to work in consulting. Great. Many people want to work in consulting, McKinsey, Bain. Why? Because first, they pay a lot of money. Second, because you gain a great experience, but you don't have a life. Well, also in startup, you don't have a life.
Kevin, in the audience, we have someone who got to, who succeeded having an internship in McKinsey. She just mentioned it today.
That's great. So McKinsey, Bain, Boston Consulting Group, or the other like EY, it's great starting there. And actually many venture capital firms like when a founding member have experience in one of these companies. Why? Execution. Like when you work in consulting, you gain a lot of very practical experience, how to put an idea down to something more concrete. I didn't do consulting. I always worked in marketing. I worked in startups and I worked in corporates. So I started the master over there. Great experience. Did I learn a lot? Yes, especially from the peers. And then I worked for 2 corporates. So that's what I like to share. It's experiences. It's not that, oh yeah, I think I'm lucky. I start something. Working in a startup and working in a corporate is absolutely different. I work at Hilti. I don't know if anyone here knows Hilti as a multinational corporation. I was working in Liechtenstein and living in Austria. When you work for a corporate, you go very deep in your area, but you don't know generally what's happening around the rest of the company. For 3 months, I did competitor analysis on appliances for electrician. Not so exciting for me, but still they were paying well. Very great culture, but it wasn't the type of environment that I wanted. I wanted to see 360 what happens, and my inputs can make an impact on the company itself. In that case, yes, I was doing a very small analysis for a very long time. And that's where the first startup was created. So during the studies, it was related to my master thesis. So maybe you have a topic that you really like and you're passionate about. In my case was motivation. So what motivates people to perform from an intrinsic and extrinsic perspective? So do they work because they're getting paid? Do they study because of the grades? Or do they work because they are intrinsically rewarded? I do it for a sense of autonomy, a sense of purpose, a sense of mastery, because I'm learning continuously new things. And that was my thesis. So as a student, I've always been intrinsically motivated, and it was great learning, but so many students were only extrinsically motivated. I study because I want a good grade. I study because I want a good career, but I don't study for necessarily my inner interests. And so the first startup was, how can we measure students' motivation? And that was edu enhancement, and provide continuous feedback to the professor, so that professor, not just at the end of the year, can understand how is the class going, are the students engaged, are they motivated, but throughout the year can see 11 factors of engagement and can make improvements. Feedback from students and professors was great. Yes, it's very useful. We're using it. What is the challenge? A user is not a client. And let me repeat, people that use your product not necessarily pay for it. And in a university environment, a professor and the student are not the one paying for that type of business. It would be the university, so the department or the whole university. Every industry has challenges, ups and downs. The education technology space is the one I know the best, because I've been working there for the past 5 years, and it's slow. So university, it takes 18 to 24 months to sell. What happened? We pivoted. So yes, we achieved 2,500 students, 40 professors, 20 different universities from St. Gallen, Bocconi, Politecnico, HSE, ESADE. I think you know most of these names because these are also business schools. But we had zero revenue. And so what happened when you have users but zero revenue? Well, how do you live? You don't. Yes, maybe if you are a foundation or an association, people find you, but not the startups. Startups need to make money, and they can do good to do well, and they can do well to do good. The idea is that you need somehow to generate revenue. We were a bit too optimistic, saying, oh yeah, but if we have people using, people will give us money, and then sooner or later they will pay. Yeah, but if you just take too long, no one will give you the money. So investor will say, I like what you do, but why don't you do it for some other targets? The corporate space, so the professional training space. And the industry was saying, hey, I like what you do with feedback. I also do courses, but for adults, for the corporates. I would also like to measure if they're doing well, if they're satisfied. Why don't you do that for us? Our passion was in making impacts to the students and then making money. But very soon we had to become a bit more realistic and making money to also then help the students. And so after 8 months, I would say, we pivoted. So the word pivot, I think for some of you might be familiar. You heard in some courses or maybe in some startup videos. When you pivot, you change. So you might change a target, you might change a product, you might change a team. In our case, was a mix of the first two, not a team. And again, let me underline, team is vital. It's not the idea, but it's how you work together. The same team, just changed like 2 people out of 6, remained. So 4 people, we were the core ones and remains in the new startups as well. The two that left were in the pedagogy space. And so the new startup doesn't work much more with pedagogy. And so it wasn't anymore a fit for them. But the rest is technology, business, fundraising, data, and industry experience that remains. So you can have the same team, but for multiple ideas. And that's, I don't know, like if you got any courses or if you ever saw any investors speaking, they say team is what we invest in the early phases. So is the team the right team, group of people that can deliver what they explain? And part of the presentation today, I will explain what we do, of course, but I want to share more the journey that led me there. And so I start sharing my screen now, just to give you a bit of the idea of the journey. So in April 2021 is when we pivoted. So from higher education, so university, to professional training, lifelong learning. How we pivoted? We've been accelerated through a global tech accelerator based in Israel. We entered higher education and we exited with a different product. Then from April until August, it was more like July and August, we built our MVP. MVP, minimum viable products, show your customers that maybe even without code, you can give value. In our case, it was feedback. Great. We took a Google form. It was like Jot form. It's very similar. And we connected with Power BI. So with the data analytics tool. No code involved. Still, they were paying for that. Great. We validate that what they need is to track feedback of their participants, and they're happy and they're paying for that. So with the MVP, you should show that people are already willing to pay without even building codes. Then we won an innovation prize from ESCP. We had around 15K in revenue. And that's when in September 2021, we incorporated. And maybe this is not a question. Do I need to incorporate in order to build my startup? Not at the beginning, not necessarily. So you don't have all the complexity of having the legal entity, the accountants, the lawyers. You need a lawyer earlier. Contracts with the customers, contract within your team, contracts when you start talking with investors. But incorporations only counts when you really need to build it. And everyone is different. In our case was, we need to make money come in. And so we needed incorporation. And it was both for the revenue and the business angel. Now, Ebro, how much do you want me to go into funding and fundraising?
I think it would be very interesting for the students to learn, because at the school, at the university, they learn about how to come up with a business idea, business modeling, but they do not really get the practicalities, what happens afterwards, what happens once you get the idea. I think it would be interesting, Kevin.
Absolutely. So let me show you the investor pitch. Okay, this one. So this is the current one. In September, we had a different one. Of course, things change with time and we keep changing. Your investor deck will change at least 100 times. So don't think you build it once and then you keep talking to investors. It always changes. So maybe this is the stage where from a course you will get into what is the problem, what is the solution, what is your product, what is the market size, what is the competitor analysis, how do you go to market? And let me show you what we have. So, and by doing that, I will also explain you what Wiblo is. So Wiblo is a simple way to manage live training. What does it mean? When you think of delivering a training for the corporate space and for the adults, from creating the course to delivering the course, you have many different platforms. Eventbrite, so that people register and pay. WooCommerce, so that the course goes to their website. Google Form to track the feedback. A lot of emails, a lot of the CRM, MailChimp, they need to join online. What does all of this mean? That they waste up to 10 hours for every single course in those low-ended activities, and they have scattered data. Scattered data, who register? Okay, I find in Eventbrite. Who joined? I find it on Zoom. Who gave me feedback? I find on Gmail, on a Google form. Who told me something? I find on Gmail. And that means scattered data and a lot of wasted resources. Wiblo is the go-to solution for training providers to simplify and becoming the only one platform that removes the majority of those low added value activities and improve the satisfaction by 60%. Automation and continuous feedback are at the core of our product. So these are just some examples of the flow of the end-to-end course delivery. The training organization keep all the courses and the cohort organized in the platform. Every course have an automated landing page where people can register and pay and automatically receive emails where they get asked for the pre-assessment. What do they expect? What do they know? What are their goals? So that these insights are already shared before the course starts to the trainer. Then they can see the resources and they can join either online, so remotely, or in person, and then keep tracking of the learning experience with continuous feedback. Now, when you're asked, how big is the market? What is the market size? Well, good luck. There are always a lot of debates on how to do it, but the models are top-down or bottom-up. Top-down is the one you see on the right. Oh, cool, the global corporate training market is 487 billion by 2030, growing 8% year over year. Fantastic. Do I care? Kind of. I care that my industry overall is growing and my customers are also growing. Doesn't mean I can make nearly like even 1%. Never count I do 1% of the market. It just doesn't make sense. Try to find how many firms there are worldwide and to your specific market and how much they can pay. That's the bottom-up approach. How many, how much they pay, how big is my market? With this insight, then you can work with the data. Can you do something by knowing that the market is 487 billion? No. Can you do something by knowing name, surname, company address, and everything of the companies? Absolutely, yes. That's the bottom-up approach and top-down. Now you need to focus somewhere. When you build a startup, you can say, oh yeah, we can go everywhere. My idea can be applied here, can be applied there, can also go there. It's important that you know, because that's show what is your vision and where are you growing into, but you also need to know where you're starting with. So we start with the training firms that work with many freelancers. Two main reasons. One, they're simpler to manage. They have less requirements than a big corporation. And they build a network effect. Every training firm works with multiple freelancers. So imagine you do the work well with one company. What happened? Those freelancers work with other training firms. That's the network effect, or in other words, word of mouth. Work well with some people and they will talk about you with their other organizations and peers. That's part of the go-to-market. The next target would be the corporates. Why? Because we're already talking to them as of our current targets. And what they need is mapping the skills they have in the company, understanding the gaps within the company, and finding who can deliver the training. Guess what? We now represent the training industry that can deliver and match those gaps. That's why it's all part of a vision that is going forward. And then the famous question, do you have traction? So, okay, now everything I told you so far is a nice idea, is a concept, is an idea, but what have you achieved? And it can either be actual sales or booked revenue. Actually, now we're working on booked revenue, meaning do you have customers that need your solution, but maybe they cannot pay yet, or you need to develop something more in order for them to pay you. The corporates is what we're working with in this way. We say, okay, look, we can be your tech partner, but how much are you going to pay? By when? And what exactly do you need? Do we have a deal? Yes, this is a booked revenue. Revenue is when you have the product and you're delivering the product and they pay you for that. Both for the investors are very important. One is, can you make the revenue with what you built so far? So they like what you have already. And the other is, are you growing? And that's the sales pipeline. just today's situation, they don't care. If I just put a column, say 62K, they don't care. Show that you're kind of growing. And if you focus on your startup, generally you grow unless you start thinking to pivots, because no one is buying your product, no one is interested in just your idea. And you mentioned that you had a session on quantitative research. I don't know how much is towards the startup, but that's a way you find out. Qualitative research, quantitative research is by talking to people. So I don't know if you took a course on design thinking, or you know the concept of job to be done. Design thinking is all about being empathetic to your customers and talk to your customer or potential customers. So talk to them. Do you have an idea? Yeah, ideas are worth nothing until they are executed. Execution is part of that talking to people, and don't be afraid, oh, they will copy my idea. No one will sign an NDA with you, so don't even think of it. Neither the investors nor the clients until you close the deal. So you need to talk to people, and no one's still just an idea, because then they might not know how to build it. And then where are we going next? So training is social. It's not just every organization use a system to make their courses alive, but there is an ecosystem that works and is interconnected with one another. Wiblo is just the technology of this ecosystem, but we build connections, and we're already doing so with our clients, with our partners, with our providers, because our customers don't only need technology, they need a decent website. They need to know which events happen in the market. They would love if we make them sell, and that's where we are going. Most critical slides is the team. So this slide is meant to be read, not to be presented, because there is a lot of information, but I will not go into how you build a presentation slides, okay? That's not the focus of today, but the team is fundamental. Now we are slightly bigger team than general stage of our company. We're a seed stage, but we have 4 co-founders. And what investors want to hear is, do you have the right skills to implement what you told me just before? Because you can have an amazing story, but not the people that can do and execute on the story. Can someone build the product? Can someone sell the product? Do you know that the product is working in the market? So for our case, they work with data, with technology, and with the training industry. We have startup and corporate experience, very important. We have technical experience with our CTO. We have data experience with our chief data officer, and we have industry experience with our COO. Then the more they grow, the more you need a customer success. You need more developers. You need someone that maybe start looking into the international markets. But we didn't do it alone. And this is a message. I don't know if in your university there is a department, but I guess if Professor Ebru is teaching the subject entrepreneurship and innovation, maybe you have a department you can talk to, or maybe even an incubator. Do you, Ebru?
Yes, we do. In the other campus that our students are attending in Bologna, we do have an incubator. It's a center for basically business development and also building startups. Exactly.
So incubator, let me just take another slide. Let me find it. Okay. So we didn't do this alone. Okay. Everything started with the incubators. Incubators is the first step, and then you go to accelerators. The incubators, most of the time, come from a university, or there are also some industry ones. Why university? Because they have the knowledge of what the market needs. You have knowledge of the professors, and most importantly, you have peers. You have a lot of people that you can connect through these incubators. We were incubated from Italy, my home university, Bologna, and from St. Gallen, the other master university. That's the first approach. That's the first very concrete ecosystem that you can start exploring, incubators. When you have an idea, you want to validate, yes, talk to customer, but also go to your professor, go to your department, or go to your incubator. generally they always offer at least some conversations, some mentoring, some coaching, because they're sponsored by university. Generally, you don't pay for these programs. Then once you start building something, you have sort of a program, a product, then you move toward the accelerators. And the accelerators, you see them, there are 4 logos. Mindset is vertical to education technology. Global education technology is based in Israel. eWork from Ezadeh is open to also other universities. They do 3 accelerators. One is generic, one is EdTech, and the other I don't remember. Supercharger Ventures is based in the UK with entity in Singapore, education technology, and Accelerating Asia is here in Singapore and it's generic. So what have I just told you? There are accelerators that are generic. They see many industries and they can help you still because they see what's working here, what's working there, and can make connections. Or you can go up to a vertical one. Is education technology? Is it fintech? Is it biotech? Is it medtech? Is it agri-tech? Is it tourism? There is everything for everyone. There is an application generally. You have some interviews, and generally they ask you for some equity. Generally, it's 2 to 3%. Some go up to 6 to 7%. YC asks for 7% in California, but because they know their brand is valuable and their connection, their know-how also. So this is how you can move the first step. Maybe let me stop a little bit to collect a few questions on the story and on this initial ecosystem, because later I will just go deeper into ecosystems and fundraising.
I think it's a good idea, Kevin. We can do that. Well, it has been quite interesting to listen to your journey. So let's see if we have any questions from the audience. Maybe to break the ice, I can ask a question here, because you highlighted the importance of the team a lot, and this is what we study in Entrepreneurship and Business Modeling Lab in EIT Digital as well, in another master program. So there I try to tell my students, like, the team should be composed of people. I generally try to motivate them by 3 qualities, no? Intelligent, like you need to choose some intelligent people. These people should have some type of integrity, because you do not want these intelligent people who would work perhaps one day against you, right? So they should hold this integrity principle, and they should be hardworking. They should be responsible somehow. They should be accountant, right? Of the outcomes, of the decisions that you guys will be taking, because you are a very small team. Although I have seen you guys are, I think, 5 or 6, like in the core team. Yes, I would agree with you. Normally they are like 2, 3, sometimes 1, 2, right? In the startup at your stage. So what could be your reflections, no, regarding your team members, or did you come up with any problems? How did you solve them? And would you agree with these 3 characteristics or not?
Yeah, let me start with this last part. So intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes. Also emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So not just competencies, but being able to work together, understand each other. Because the last point, hardworking, is what will go against this emotional intelligence. Like, you start working so much. It's been like 365 days since I didn't have a 3 consecutive day holiday. And I'm here in Bali because it's the last week before I go back to Italy. And I said, well, I need to take a break. And you will be working a lot. So if you think consulting, you work a lot. Yes, but you get paid a lot. Entrepreneurship, you don't get paid today. If you succeed, yes, you will get rewarded. And maybe I will take a note on this topic and I will share a bit more later on future rewards.
Sure.
Integrity, yes. If you work with someone that just want to do it for the money, you can tell them, go and work somewhere else. There are a lot of other opportunities that you can make way more money than startups. Startups, you don't do it for the money. Please, everyone here, you don't build a startup for the money, but you build it for learning. because it's an amazing learning experience. You do it because you want to work and you find yourself well working with a close network of people like your co-founders. And you do it because maybe you want to have an impact on the world, or you want to have, yes, maybe a future return, but that is the last reason why you should do it. You know the statistics, so don't play against those statistics unless you just like gambling and you know that generally the game is not built for you to win. And so yes, intelligence, integrity, hardworking, absolutely. Core.
And plus emotional intelligence, not that you highlighted, important.
Yes. Exactly.
Thank you.
I don't know if the rest of the class has any questions or curiosities about anything overall.
Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, I would like to. Can you hear me?
Yes, Alejandro.
Yes, I would like to ask, like, does not an entrepreneur work the same or more than a consultant, like McKinsey or Boston Consultant? Because I think they work like much more, like have less like social life out of their work at the beginning.
Yes. So yes, I do work.
Now Kevin will start crying.
Yes, I do work much more. I use the word work because it's socially understood. Me, myself, I don't define myself as working any single hours. Everything I do just starts the day and finish the day, hoping I start the next day to keep working on it. I worked in corporates where I wished it was 5 p.m. because I finished working. That's work. If you do something that you're passionate about, I don't know who said this, for sure there is someone that said that, I'm not inventing quotes, like do something that you love doing, you'll never work one day. And that's true. Like my days fly. I start Monday, I finish Sunday, and it's Monday again. Weekends, yes, I can take a little bit more break because I don't have calls with the customers and with the investors, but your mind is always active. So even when you don't think today, because I'm on holiday, I haven't done that ever in my life, I was getting a massage, and in theory, you should relax. Where was my mind? I was thinking of the startup and what I could do when I go back. So yes, you work by using the social understood concept of work. But for me, just time fly, and I didn't realize it's already evening, and I don't wish the day to be finished. I just physically need to eat and to sleep and have other activities.
So it's a quote from Mark Twain. He said, find a job you enjoy doing and you will never have to work a day in your life. Yes.
Exactly. Correct.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, perhaps we can continue.
Yeah. So together with incubators and accelerators, there are startups awards, like university startup awards, incubator accelerators, like open innovation programs, governmental programs. All of them are great to get some money. Generally, they're free.
Just to intervene, sorry, I just dropped in the chat box the name of the incubator in UPM. It's called Actual UPM. Okay, for the ones who are interested in it.
Yeah, the first step, I think, should get to know them. If it depends if that is your market, always talk with people that understand the market, of course. And so these awards are great to get some money, to get more and more your network. You will never do it alone, okay? I don't have the connection, the understanding of how the market works if I didn't build through the years connections and network. Then now I just pick up the phone and I can talk to someone. I'm still 25. I don't have like 20 years of experience in the industry, so that I expect is impossible for anyone. But it will take time, and never think, oh yeah, I have an idea, I will bring it to the market alone. Especially if the first time you do it, if you're a first generation entrepreneur, I'm actually a first generation university student. No one in my family never went to university, both my mom's side, my father's side, in my family as well. So I don't come from a family that supported me financially or professionally. Emotionally, yes, but not like, oh yeah, I have my parents who pay me, I can cover everything? No. So also, I don't have that excuse. Oh yeah, as of my family, I built all of this. No. Be careful one thing, investors don't care if you win awards. Not as much. Maybe some are more prestigious than other, but this is fake traction. So the thing they really care about, are you building something that the market wants? Show me that the market wants it. Because yes, you can win a few grants, a few, even Horizon, so the European funds or some national funds, but ultimately, do the market buy what you have? Can you make money with what you're building? Once you have that, you start raising money. That's why I keep the fundraising process for the last. And the last aspect that you should start connecting with is local and international networks. Like I was based in Singapore, in Switzerland, and so there is a hub for my industry, which is the Swiss EdTech Collider. If you're interested in education technology, definitely let's talk one-on-one.
Is it the one at EPFL campus, Kevin?
Yes, correct.
Yes, okay.
Correct. And so what do we do with them? They invite us for events, online, in person. They maybe sometimes invite investors. They share newsletters. So build those connections. In Switzerland, the government created InnoSwiss, which provides some grants for you to get some services. And then the rest is in Italy, like some social impact ecosystem. Me, myself, with 5 other co-founders, we built the Italian ecosystem for education technology, which is called EdTech Italia. Why? Because I've been enough involved in the education technology space to then start representing that industry. And so in France, there is EdTech France, there is EdTech in Finland, EdTech Deutschland, but there is not EdTech Italia, so we built it. So be aware, you need to be 30, 40, 50 to start being a representative of your industry, of your knowledge. You just need to have the right network. Again, I didn't have the network because I paid someone or anything, just talking to people and get to know people and show that you're, I don't know if this is too cheesy, but good at heart. So you don't do just because of success, but you do because you care of what you're building. And another fake traction is PR. Customer like it, investor don't care. So yes, people can write about you. You can be on the, well, maybe if you go on the New York Times, yes, but just kidding. Sell. Show that you can sell what you're building, even just with the idea phase. If someone is willing to buy your idea, well, investor will give you money. But that's what most entrepreneurs and myself, we mess up. We create a solution, and then we try to solve a problem. That's not the way the startup work, or like this concept of design thinking work. That's why, how do I find the right idea? Generally, is more the right idea finds you, and you're the right person to develop it. For me, actually, is the right problem. You find the right problem that is worth solving. That's how most accelerators, like YC accelerators, Y Combinator. I don't know if you heard that you find a lot of resources over there for free. Maybe Ebru, if you can just put the Y Combinator link in the chat. For many of you could be helpful. They have an academy for startups and it's great. Let me go on the last part, which is the fundraising. And then we close. So fundraising has different steps. You hear many news. Oh yes, the startup raised 20 million, they raised 10 million, they raised 2 million, they raised 300. Please don't be fooled that everything was easy for them, because it's never easy. The more you talk to startuppers, the more you realize, oh shit, it's a lot of work. And it's not just on the news, on the newsletter, oh yeah, they raised 30 million. Go and check how long they've been in the markets. Those startups that in 10 months become a unicorn, like Gorillas in Germany, are super rare, and there are reasons behind that. I don't want to be harsh. No one of you will be there. Like, don't just even think that in 10 months you can become a unicorn and be successful. It will take 3 to 5 years before you reach maybe 100 to 500 million valuation. It takes time because you are building it, and you will fail and you rebuild and you fail, rebuild. That's how you learn. And investors like that you pivot it and then you fail. If they say, oh, you failed, no, that's not interested, good. It's better you don't work with them, because failing in the startups is absolutely normal. And failing can also mean this is not working, I close and I restart something. It's not that, oh, I'll go bankrupt, I have debt, I don't know how to pay people. The sooner you realize that you have to change, the better. And then how do you raise money? First, you need a deck. And there are many templates for decks. Problem, you have the solution. How big is this market? So it should be big enough. That's what they say. At least 1 to 10 billion is how big it should be, at least. If you're targeting something that is in the hundreds of millions, it's too small for the venture capital to fund you. So 10 millions, amazing, 10 million above. 1 million, well, you have to be great, being you the solution for the market. And then you start with the business angels. The first steps is friends and family and full, so the 3F. You have some money, maybe your family has some money. It was not my case, and neither my family had money, so couldn't go there. Friends, I just have students friends, and they don't get much money, so okay, that wasn't working. Full, I have too much integrity to fool people. And so the first money was, okay, I need to work and get some money. So that's why I work at Hilti with the first idea. I was getting 4,000 a month. I was, with all my expenses, I was paying 800. Cool. I had 3,000 that I kept accumulating in my bank account, and I could pay the different things, not my salary. As long as I can survive, I'm fine. And then once you start validating the idea, and some investor will start saying, okay, so you have an idea, you have a problem, you have a solution, and the market is buying or promising to buy. Okay, maybe I give you some money. And the first official are the business angels. Why they're called business angels? I only learned after they invested, because they're really angels. Without them, we would be dead 3 times already. And the last time we would die was almost 1 month ago. I had 500 euro in the bank accounts. We had things that we had to pay. The team was great, saying, okay, we don't need to get paid now. And but we still had suppliers, we had platform to pay, and we had 500 euro in the bank account. He gave extra 50K. So we raised in September 2021, 250K. And gosh, let me take like 2 minutes for that. I pitched so many times. The way you learned with at the university, with incubators, so send an investor deck, then you have the first meeting. It never worked because I was talking to the wrong target. I was talking to venture capital. Yes, early stage venture capital, but they're not the one giving you the money until you show you make revenues. Through the, I don't have here, through the innovation price of the ESADE, SCP, not ESADE, sorry, SCP innovation price. One of the judges was this guy, Nicolas Motillet. I had no idea there were 4 judges. There were 6 startups selected to pitch. We won the innovation prize, which was 15K of grants. Great, we got some money, and we can now start paying a little things here and there. But of course, 15K, you don't go anywhere. And then I asked, can we get feedback from the different judges? Because when you do startup competition, you present for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. By the way, 3 minutes, 4 is generally what you get. So it's not your university hours presentations. Because I had 1 hour presentation sometimes. No, that's 3 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. And you have to present these 10, 11 slides. but you don't get feedback. You get a lot of judgments, you get a lot of questions, but you never get, am I doing the right thing? Can you give me an honest feedback? So that's what we wanted to learn. So we set a meeting with everyone. Someone said, oh, I would like to invest 10K. Great, that was the first one. Wow, someone said they want to invest 10K. And a few days later, we talked with Nicholas. So we had 7 minutes, 3 plus 4 minutes presentation. We had a 50 minutes presentation with Nicholas, and he said, I'm ready to invest 250K. We were asking 300. And I was like, in my mind, I didn't say that. Oh, I was asking for feedback, not for money. And that's great. So, and then he asked the famous question, how much are you valued? We won't go into entrepreneurial finance class. I'm sure there are courses. Don't think of discounted cash flow. Don't think of multiple for the early stage. You're always valued between 1 to 2 million, more or less, 1 to 3, okay? Because you can't give too much equity, and they also know you can give too much equity. And it depends country by country. In Italy, I could have said to that question, 1.5 million. And they would already look at me saying, are you crazy? 1.5 million with just 15K in revenue? He was French. And after 50 minutes, he said, I'm ready to invest 250 without even asking. Well, then I said, okay, we're valued 2 to 3 million. I checked his reaction, which was, okay, great. So our valuation between 2 to 3 million, it's like this at the beginning, okay? Don't think it's hard science and math. And he said, okay, send me an offer and I'm ready to move forward. We sent 2.5 million pre-money valuation. He then, after a few months, because we need to incorporate, gave us the money. That's how it worked. He gave us 120,000 first, then 80, and then 40, just to see that we were working and actually being serious, but he gave the money. And now we ask for 50 more because we were really desperate. But of course, you don't say, I'm desperate, please give me money. It's like, I'm building this and I have this request. I need to pay the bills. Can you invest? There's so much. Talk to incubator, accelerator about this, because I can't just give general tips on that. But he gave 50 extra K, and that's a follow-on investment. Great signal for future investors. Yes, Ebru?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And just wanted to say, well, congratulations, no? Because while you were explaining, you were almost like getting to the end, like a month ago, no? Then luckily, or perhaps not luckily, because you have pivoted at the right moment, you have been communicating with the right people, many things, no? It's not perhaps just about luck, but perhaps it also has a role. You got this. Well, the time is like flying.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you would like to show us 1 or 2 final things, then maybe we can ask you some more questions.
Yeah, as I told you, it was the funding, the last part, which is friends, family, and fools, your money, friends, family, and fools, and business angels. And then now we are raising with venture capital. So we're raising 1.5 million. We're still raising. And that's what we have right now. 1 business angel, 2 new ones, and then the EdTech accelerators investors. Now we're raising more, and they ask 20 to 30K monthly recurring revenue to then give 1.5 million in funding. So I like getting some questions from you. I just share my LinkedIn in the chats if you need any follow-on, or especially if you are in EdTech space, then I can help.
Thank you, Kevin. Super interesting. Before them, I have a question regarding this problematization part, because finding a problem, not finding the solution, right away, is one of the key things that we see. They try to come up with the perfect business idea, which is my business idea. What can it be? But which is the problem there, right? So do you have any tips for the audience in terms of how they can problematize their settings and how they can identify the problems themselves?
Yeah, I'll say first it's your passion. Like if I build something in biotech, I had no clue, but I know that myself, I'm passionate about education technology, and then start talking with the industry. So talk with, in my case, our trainers, training firms, industry experts. Maybe you want to do fintech. Yes, start talking with banks, with yourself, like you're also a client of a bank. So with others. So find something that you're passionate about and then talk to the industry. That's how then you find what is the problem that they actually have. And then, of course, there's much more. It's, are they willing to pay to get this problem solved? Can you build a minimum viable product to show that you're solving at a certain extent their problem, and then you can build something more robust? Bennett?
Ellen, yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Kevin, for this talk. It's been super interesting, and I would like to know, how do you deal with uncertainty? Like if you've had some moments in which you wanted to quit, or I don't know. I find it like very difficult, uncertainty in your case.
Yes, there are always moments that you say, am I really investing my time the right way? What keeps motivating me are customers' feedback. If they need what I'm building, great. Are they paying enough for me to sustain that? Sometimes no. Then I say, okay, they want it, but I can't make it sustainable. Are there investors? Maybe no. They're not investors giving you money. Where do you go back to your team? That's where most of the time I found motivation is with the customers and with my team to keep working. The moment maybe the teams are being demotivated, that's where, despite you have great feedback from the customer, things are not working. That's why, like, when you build something, you have to build it with someone. Solo entrepreneurs are not much interested to the venture capital space unless like you build already a lot of stuff and that, yes, you can make it. First things is really finding the right team. They can be friends, they can be colleagues. Better not family, but then there are also good cases that with family, they build amazing startups. There are reasons, I mean, risk, just distributing risk is a part of it. But yeah, it's not all great, everything is amazing.
And maybe accepting it's sometimes okay not to be okay as well, no? And it's like,
oh,
yeah, just keep on doing, although sometimes you are not okay, but with the resilience, you try to move on.
Yeah, talking to people. For me, that's when I go back to the incubator accelerators. There is a lot about startup wealth, startup health, mental health, because we are workaholic, and that's normal. Like all startups are workaholic generally, the one that try to succeed, and they work a lot. They don't have a work-life balance. I don't, and I realize it. And I make sacrifices. Relationships are not possible sometimes because I keep moving around, for example. So there are pros and cons in everything. In startups, yeah, you dedicate yourself 3 to 5 years at least to something. The sooner you realize that it's failing, the better. Be happy that you realize it.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks a lot for the question.
Thank you.
Do we have any final questions? Come on, 1 or 2 more questions from the audience, because time is, well, we have already run up the time.
I have a colleague that is, we'll have a call later, so that's fine. Okay. Any last questions? Otherwise, you can add me on LinkedIn. I'll be in Barcelona in 2 weeks. Meeting, what,
sorry.
Pablo?
Yep.
Pablo, okay.
Yeah. Hi. Wait, I'll turn my camera on.
Yeah.
Hi, Pablo.
I'd like to know how much time did it take you to come up with the idea, and when do you realize it was like the time to go with it?
The first one was coming from the research. So I was writing a thesis. And so that's when I brought the idea to the market. The second one, the market asked me for the idea. That's when they paid for that. So it's always better is the market asking you for a solution. And at first, maybe you're a sort of software house for them. Like you are building because they're asking you something. But if then you keep building just because they ask for it, then you're not a startup, you're a software house. Like, and at first it's normal. They ask you for something and you're building with them. It's a concept of co-design, co-development. So again, it's not fully my idea. Yes, I'm passionate about education technology and the network that can help our customers. But then ultimately is, do the customer need it? They told me. The first startup, no, they didn't tell me. I pushed it.
Thank you,
So
Kevin.
finding the idea is talking
you
to the
so much.
customers. Talking. Yes, Pablo.
Okay, so many thanks, Kevin, for your time, for your patience, for
Thank
your
you.
explanations. Super interesting. So Kevin already dropped his LinkedIn profile on chat. You can add him and perhaps you can keep in touch. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today and have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye.
afternoon,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.